calling me names I'm not sure about in the Black Pill. No, they'd have been calling me. What I could have done is I could have come in with a nice turban on, and they'd have started calling me Chad Preet. And then Jaden would have come on and they started calling him Chang. And it would have all been over. A Chad Am.
The Arabic one is Chad Am.
Arab Chad is a Chad Am.
Yeah. But we might as well trail the show because we're live now. We might as well trail the fact that we're doing the show tomorrow now. Is that all agreed?
Yes. And also, so we've got a few things coming up, guys. We've got a show tomorrow with Mein Waffle Mensch. I don't know why I'm tying him to Nazi Germany Association. He's not. He's not part of the Hitler Youth. I mean, he is ideologically, but in different ways. He spouts nonsense that we vehemently disagree with. I'm not saying he's not a good speaker, a bit like Hitler, but the content is not on point. So, 3 p.m. UK time. Troy and Tuss dust off their old cobwebbed boxing gloves and get back in the ring with old wheat waffles. What are we talking about with old wheat waffles?
I think we're talking about geomaxing again. Which
so
is
otherwise known as being sensible, getting on a plane and maybe going on holiday or maybe going to a place where you like the women, But again, we've got to use this Black Pill terminology, don't we? This purist terminology. It's almost cult-like, isn't it? Like Scientology, they'll use certain phrasing for stuff that's just common sense to make it kind of part of the cult.
Yeah, it really is. Well, myself and King Cole got accused of jester maxing when we were in Russia because which was basically going on a date. But the guys were like, look, they're jester maxing, which basically means you're trying to perform for the girls and, impress them, which we actually weren't doing because the girls in question were munters. So I was trying to get out of there, to be honest.
They didn't look too bad on the old.
They were all right. They were all right. I mean, look, we got talking to them. We just impromptu, mainly because we were doing a live stream, just for the impromptu vibe of it. We decided to go for a quick. We went into a sushi cafe, bought a couple of coffees, and the guys were like, "Oh, do you reckon they bought them dinner and all this?" And like, no, we didn't fucking buy them dinner.
But even if you happen to be eating in a country like Russia where the gender roles are traditional, and you offered them food and they accepted, you would obviously pay for that. That's just how things work in Russia. It doesn't mean you're going out and buying someone a Ferrari. Right, so there's a big difference, isn't there? There's different levels of this. It's not black and white. I never really let women pay for me. I mean, if they offer, maybe once in a blue moon, 20% of the time, if I'm dating a girl, she might buy me something as a token. But I'm fully expecting just to cover the costs of women. I mean, that's just how I've been brought up. I mean, does that make me stupid? Not really.
No, I think it's just sort of social, sort of acumen, isn't it, really? I mean, if I was on a date with a girl and then like a first date I wouldn't do as a dinner date anyway for the most 99.9% of the time I just wouldn't do that. But if I was out with the girl and then we were hungry, and more importantly if I got hungry and I'm like, fuck, I need to eat something, you might then suggest and say, oh, I'll tell you what, why don't we grab a bite? Or you might be in a bar, and they're serving food and you're like, oh, let's just grab something to eat. Now in that instance I would pay for that because it's the socially normal thing to do. It's not like some kind of weird, particularly in somewhere like Russia, because otherwise you're just going to look like an idiot.
Colombia, the same.
Yeah.
They have a name for you if you don't pay for stuff here called Tacano, which is.
Did you see any of that video I sent you yet? About the there's a little bit of Cali in there.
I'm going to watch it. What's the topic?
It's about drug dealing. It goes out into the jungle, like the sort of drug wars that are kicking off and everything. But there's a little bit of Cali in it, which is quite interesting towards the end. So you'll enjoy that. Yeah. Okay.
And what are your upcoming plans? I guess we should probably do a bit of an admin clear up before we dive into the topic, which is negativity and gloom and everything that's wrong with the industry we're associated with. But first, as Mr. Torero, God rest his beautiful new apartment in Medellin. What have you got coming up the next few weeks? I know. So first of all, live stream myself, Troy Waffles, dust off the gloves, back in the ring with him, talking about going on holiday, him talking about geomaxing, 3 p.m. UK time, and then
Wheat Waffles, Black Pill special.
Myself, Mr. Ege Reynolds of the Charming Man fame, and Les will talk about Night Game 101. So basically just a rehash of what me and Troy did on MLD's recent talk on Wednesday. And that'll be, I believe, 6 or 7 p.m. UK time.
Is that a private Zoom?
No, it's just an open... Oh, no, it is a Zoom call, yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay. Zoom call. So guys can sign up to
So guys can sign up if they, just send me an email, info@jamestuss.com, and you can jump into that. And then you're in Miami, aren't you?
Yeah, so Wednesday, I'm flying over to the United States of America, hopefully, all being well. Got to sort out my tests and all that, but flying over to the US to go to Miami, to go to the Conference of Masculine Excellence, run by Donovan Sharp. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun over next weekend. Meeting up with John MLD, Sterling Cooper's going to be there. Sterling Cooper, Myron, and Fresh CEO from Fresh and Fit. There's a whole bunch of guys over there, so it should be kind of interesting. So doing that for a few days, and then I'll see where the wind takes me. Really, after that, I think.
And what's the topic you're going to be speaking on in the conference?
I'm just going to be speaking about cold approach and the necessity for cold approach. Really, particularly going forward. I think in this overly digitized world, face-to-face connection is the way forward. Really, it's almost like how guys buy vinyl now. People are obsessed with vinyl, even though we've got all these streaming services. It's almost like you've got to take a step back because yes, you've got Tinder, you've got Instagram, and all this kind of stuff, but everyone knows it doesn't really work for most guys. So you need to be comfortable in the social arena. So I think just talking around that really.
Interesting. So yeah, for guys that kind of skim the title of this, what's wrong with they'll see the title, what's wrong with Daygame, and maybe fluff over the other stuff. But what we're talking about is needs to be clarified, doesn't it, today? Because we're not talking about not building your social emotional intelligence and social freedom. What we're talking about is the issues that kind of come as part of this industry, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that in my sense of this, things have moved on quite a lot, really, in the last few years. But the problem is there's this overhang of let's say the first generation of people who were making content and talking about all of this stuff. And there's a couple of issues, really. Firstly, they've massively overcomplicated everything, I think, without a shadow of a doubt. It's just so overcomplicated, of what you're meant to do and all of the different components of, just going up and having a conversation with a woman. And secondly, there's a weird sort of purism that's still around in that community where people think that the only form of dating that counts is if you met through Daygame and if you did a certain model of Daygame, and everything else is sort of cheating or it doesn't count. And that just seems like a nonsense to me, because like you were saying, I mean, I think increasingly night game or going out at night is something that interests me. It's a cool thing to do. The ROI is probably better. So why not just do both? Why not do, why not just it should be less about categorizing it between day and night, and it should just be about socializing generally.
Yeah. So the first generation of guys, they've overcomplicated it, and is that kind of where it ends in terms of, well, where do we need to be going forward from this? I mean, the guy coming into kind of opening YouTube, and he maybe says how to pick up girls, and he comes across a load of Daygame content. Where does he start with that stuff? Because there's no doubting that a lot of the older guys, or the principles from the first generation guys, are sound. There's a lot of good information out there, but if you were coming in as a fresh-faced 25-year-old, I mean, what would your advice be to kind of minimize the noise and actually focus on what's important with all this stuff?
Well, ultimately, you just need to go out and start talking to people, don't you? Now, the criticism of that advice would be to say, well, that's all very well, but what are you going to say? If you don't know what to say, then how are you going to start doing that and everything? But I think really just going out there, having as many conversations as you can, interacting with as many different women as you can, but people in general as well, just interacting socially. Like you were saying the other day when we did that private stream with John MLD, that's the first thing you've got to worry about, and until you've gone and had 100 conversations with women that you don't know, who you find attractive, and you've sort of let the chips fall where they may, then there's no point really worrying about all this other stuff. There's no point worrying about all these complexities of everything.
Yeah, and that's what people do. They come into the theory side of it, don't they? And then they completely overwatch the theory, taking no action. And it kind of, then they get into weird debates online. Who should I be watching? Who am I following? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, well, what are you actually doing? Have you gone and spoken to another woman yet? That's the entire point of what the content is for.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of sort of tribalism in that space, isn't there? People like, oh no, I've got to use this guy's method, or I've got to use that guy's method, and this guy's a fraud, and this guy's, paying hookers and all the rest of it. And it's like, probably most, unless a guy's a complete scammer, and there aren't really. I think most guys actually in this space are pretty good-hearted, really, to be honest. I think most guys are, there's a few that you might look at and think, well, is he really being genuine here? But I think a lot of guys who are in this space, actually, they are just genuinely sharing their own experience. And I think a lot of different people have got stuff to bring to the table. So I think just being fixated on one person's, method to the exclusion of everybody else is not a good thing. I think it's an unhelpful thing. You can take good wisdom, you can take good advice from a whole range of people, really. So best to do that rather than getting too tribal, getting too fixated on one particular guy's idea about how it should or should not be done. So Sylvester Kaprazak says, what kind of venues do you guys usually go to for night game, particularly in the UK, pubs, clubs, and bars? I don't really go out very much in the UK now, to be honest, because the UK, and I mean, I'm based in London when I'm in the UK, and even there, the nightclub scene is not particularly good. I mean, a lot of the clubs have closed down. There's a few places left. I'm less into the sort of banging techno side of things than I was. You've got bars and things. Bars are good. It's a different kettle of fish. Each of the different types of venues that you've mentioned there. I'm just addressing this point of Sylvester here. He's saying, what kind of venues do you guys usually go to for night game in the UK? I say, well, I don't really go to anywhere in the UK, to be honest.
No, and judging by the fact you sound, I might be wrong here, but you sound like a Polish guy. I would suggest sacking off the UK, as me and Mr. Francis are going to do, and coming over to Poland. That's the other thing to mention that we're doing. We're spending 6 weeks charging around Poland, running boot camps every Thursday to Sunday. It's going to be a really, really, really good time. We've got Krakow, we've got Lublin, we've got Łódź, we've got 2 weekends in Warsaw, we've got Gdansk. So space is still available here and there for that. And yeah, Poland has always been up there as one of these places that I just love spending time in for no real reason. I don't really know why I like it, but it's just an easy place to live. The food's good, the people are fun, the girls are hot. It's just that there's just nothing wrong with it, really, as a location, is there? It's
a great place, and the pierogi's good. So nothing to complain about.
We've got the puppet master himself, Woodsy, Alex Woods.
You know who's over there at the moment as well.
He's where?
You know who's over there at the moment? None other than Mr. JT from Russia is in Warsaw now.
Although weirdly, he was trying to message me to come to Lithuania, which I wasn't really understanding.
Well, it sounded quite good. He messaged me about it, about the city. It sounded pretty good actually where he was.
I've spent time in Lithuania. It's a bit of a Romania as far as I'm concerned. It's not easy dating wise there. No, I mean, they're quite tall, quite cold. I really didn't rate it as a dating place. And I went to a place called Palanga Beach, which is literally their holiday location, and it was still tough.
Really?
Yeah, it's not an easy place, Lithuania, at all.
No doubt Mr. JT managed to make fools of us all, because his game is actually pretty good, isn't it? I mean, we saw him out and about. Do you remember was it in Ekaterinburg we saw him in action? And he's pretty good. He's got the chat, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what he would be called, because he's kind of a Russian Chad. So like
Chadsky.
A Chadsky. Yeah, he's a Chadsky. So.
He's not Russian though. He's like Mancunian Chad, isn't he? He's like going over there with his sort of like Manc Chad. Hey, you're right.
He's from Barnsley, isn't he? Barnsley.
Yeah. That was a terrible. I went into Scouse there. Apologies.
That was almost a Scouse accent. So yeah, back to slagging off people. Are we naming people? No, I'm joking.
No, we don't. Not necessarily. I think the issue really is that, and there's also a lot of politics that gets involved with the old school as well. There's a lot of sort of like bringing political issues into it that have really got nothing to do with, with socializing and going out and meeting people. I mean, there's and bring some pretty negative and sort of nasty political ideas into the forum as well. Where's that really going to get you? What's that got to do with anything?
No, I agree.
In fact, actually, and Torero used to always say this: any negativity is bad for your vibe, and that includes the manosphere stuff. By the way, that includes banging on about feminism and all the rest of it. And if you're tweeting about what's it called, Roe Wade, or and all that kind of stuff, and like, oh my god, what about Bill Gates and the globalists and all this kind of thing? None of that is helping you one iota in terms of your dating life. In fact, actually, it's setting you back, because the more negativity that you've got on board, it's going to shine through, and it's going to impede your opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. Are you going to go for that one, Miss Straggles? Did you like her? Was she hot?
She's a bit old.
How old?
Like 32.
Let me go and see. Give me 1 sec, Mr. Francis.
Okay. Any more questions, guys? If you've got any more questions, pass them through. Anon says, we know a high body count affects women in more bad ways than good. You reckon it affects guys negatively too? I think it does, because in the sense that it makes it harder for a guy to want to settle, because if you've had all these different experiences dating, and and more importantly than that, you're also aware that you can have more experiences. You can get on a plane, or you can go somewhere and you can just meet new people. Are you going to really want to settle down? Are you really going to want to sort of have the monogamous dream with that one person? Perhaps not. So I think I wouldn't say that it whether it's a negative thing or not is a bit of a judgment call, but it certainly does have an effect, I think. Yeah.
So where do you draw? How do you? I mean, I was listening to the butt plug beta, Rich Coper's book last night, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot about it's that clown, who trolls everyone's name for it, and their thumbnail's hilarious. I've also obviously been a recent victim of that.
Has it improved your sales?
Yeah, I made a couple of sales off the back of it, so thank you. He shall not be named, because I don't want to risk giving you any probing. But yeah, I mean, these kind of, I guess, red pill understanding of stuff, right? It is true. A lot of this red pill kind of, the basis for how women see the dating market meant it. How do we avoid? How do you still kind of like, not as Torero, not let the negativity affect your vibe? How do you kind of not be angry with the with the world, with the dating market? How do you still kind of maintain that joie de vivre and seeing women as these kind of beautiful, playful creatures that you have a blast with, knowing deep down they're all driven by this kind of overarching
hypergamy,
behavior? Yeah, I mean, again, it's about understanding, isn't it? Not holding it against them, right? But a lot of this, they talk about the bitterness of the red pill, and we see so many people in this space who are just horribly angry with women and the opposite sex, and obviously that's a terrible way to think, and that's just not a solution in any form. But how do we kind of marry together those two? Or how would you suggest a new guy coming into this who's discovered all this stuff? He's read the butt plug beta's book, he's read the Rational Male, Tomasi, the Approach Master himself's book, and he's thought, okay, this is good information, but how do I then not hate women, basically?
Well, I don't think it should be a question of hating anyway, because it's just all we're talking about here is nature, right? I mean, it's not you can't really apply morals or really ethics to it. It just is what it is, And what does it really come down to? What are we saying? Well, we're saying that women want to go for the most genetically fit man that they can possibly get. Well,
as do women. As do we.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, it shouldn't really be a massive surprise to anybody that that's the case. I mean, and I don't even really think it is a massive surprise, really. Except that people will say, well, yeah, because of Disney and blah blah blah. We're given the sense that women are something different to self-interested creatures, but as soon as you just shed that knowledge, you're like, okay, well, fine. Well, that's the way it is. But then you need to go out and just start interacting with people. And again, I do wonder, a lot of these guys who get into this red pill rage, how much they're actually interacting with women and real people away from their computer. Because if you go to an amazing nightclub, or there's a great vibe, a party or something like that, you talk to a load of different girls, you're just going to have a blast because they're fun. You'll have a laugh. They're flirty, and all that kind of thing. And that really should drive all of this red pill nonsense out of your head. Do you know what I mean? Like once you actually really engage with real human beings, you realize that actually, for the most part, people are pretty cool. I mean, yeah, okay, you've got to be aware of the signs, you've got to be aware of the potential dangers, but like, there's no point being butthurt about it. You've just got to go out there and get into the mix.
Yes. Leonard, Mr. Wong says, "Why do you guys insist on picking up others' girlfriend, thinking that it's okay?" Question mark.
I don't know if they do they? What guys are they? Maybe you need to hang out with different people.
Yeah, they shouldn't be hitting on your girlfriend if you've got supposed friends. That's not good. Here he is, the legend himself, Mr. M's finest, coming in. How's it going, man?
Are you doing a stream right now? Okay, no, sure.
All good.
Mr. M here.
Mr. M has arrived, fresh faced and bushy tailed from the US.
Is that
Mr. M's finest?
Is this his first? Is this his first appearance in Cali?
This is the first. He's honouring us with his presence after.
You should get him on camera.
He just come in with his straight off the back of the flight.
Hello, Mr. Francis.
Hello. Straight off the red eye.
Is he in Miami right now?
No.
I was at that amazing Turkish restaurant in Berlin yesterday, and I had the in your honor, I had the Adina kebab. Excellent.
I can't hear him.
Oh yeah.
This is terrible. Anyway, this is terrible for the viewers. Anyway,
this is true. Anyway, you were talking about a kebab or something?
I was just saying I went to this Turkish restaurant where we went to and had a great Turkish kebab that
Are you brothers, says Sergio Cole.
Recommended. Is who brothers?
Are you brothers? Are you staying here, Mr. M?
No, just down the street. I thought you guys were in that Dan hotel. They didn't have any availability. Are you guys staying here? Yeah. How was it?
All good. A Dana kebab. What was I going to say? Yeah, so what were we talking about before about hitting on people's girlfriends?
Yeah, a guy was saying, why do guys always hit on people's girlfriends? I don't think they do, actually. And I think if you're experiencing that a lot, you need to hang around with different people, because really you want to be with a group of guys who have a certain degree of honor, and they're not just going to like hit on some girl that you're dating just for the sake of it.
I agree. I agree.
And he says, I think I need to mix with other friends and pick up girls instead of with the same group of friends. Well, that's an interesting point, right? Because sometimes if you're going out, but you're going out with a group of guys, maybe you've known them since school or university or whatever, and they're not really au fait with the ways of, wingmanship, then they can get in the way and try and trip you up, and it becomes all a bit of a shit show. Which is why it's always worth getting like proper wings who kind of know what they're about, and because when I first got into this stuff and we were taught how to, be a wingman and how to have wingmen, it was very much you don't trip each other up, you don't go for each other's girls. There's a certain degree of honor here. So I would say, yeah, look at who you hang out with.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. A lot of American dudes have gone out with completely clueless, or maybe it's just the culture. They'll trample over their friends to get with a very average girl. It's just like, bro, what are you fucking doing? And that seems to be the etiquette in the US. It's just a terrible way to live. Genghis Khan. Tusk, would you do a day game session on a bike, car, electric scooter? Be a more efficient way to do day game. No, I probably wouldn't bother personally.
Skateboard.
A skateboard. I get it in the US though. A lot of it's not pedestrianised. You kind of have to drive around, don't you? But then I'd be getting out of the US anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, also it gets your steps up as well. Remember your steps. Daily steps, very important. So, embrace the grind, I would say.
Are you still working with old JP? How's it going?
Yeah, it's not really. No, I'm not quite sure that his method works very well with me, kind of thing. I mean,
tracking the food thing, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, it you know what I mean. You experienced the same thing, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer just to eat once, twice a day, really, and try and track my food that way. But
yeah,
by the letter of the law, I guess the purist would be arguing that's not accurate enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as a precursor till tomorrow, I mean, should guys be leaving the UK today? Because there was a question here saying, have you guys stopped approaching in London? So you're based more in London than me. I mean, what do you do typically? Do you approach at all situationally or not at all?
Situationally, maybe, but it's not really. Increasingly, it's not really a place where I'm particularly keen to be running around all over the place. And I mean, it's just I tend to be there for work and for friends and for family and stuff. And that's kind of it, really. I'm not really bothered about really doing lots of approaching there. It's just not really, but that's partly just culturally the vibe of it. I'm not seeing as women there that I particularly want to approach necessarily anyway. So it's not. Really
Is it not stuff with? Well, I thought summertime London, to be fair, is actually you do see some talent. Have you not seen much going on, or?
Oh, of course you see some, yeah, for sure. But I'd rather just get out and go somewhere else. I mean, that's why I'm looking forward to Poland, for example, because
it's a bit annoying because I would actually probably be back in London over summer, or I will be back in London over summer, and I would like to do some approaching. But logistically, I mean, I've looked at the prices for rent and stuff, and it's just a shit show. Like, to get anywhere long term, I mean, you can't get anywhere for like a month or two on Airbnb. It's not financially viable anyway. Good in London, as far as I can see, anyway.
What about that place in Soho where you stayed? Is that any good, or is it expensive?
Z Hotel. I mean,
is that what it was?
Good logistics, but an absolute shit show for pricing. I mean, it's like 100 something. Excuse me, like something like about 100 a night, and it's a tiny box room.
Yeah.
The best place I ever stayed in was a thing called Pub Love in Southwark, which sounds suspect, but it was basically a pub in London Bridge. You stay in the loft. It was like 35 a night, but that's now I can't get anywhere near that. It's fully sold out forever. Rent prices I've seen in hotels, the average hotel cost is just, I mean, you're looking at 200 a night in most hotels, like average hotels. It's insane to expensively to be in London. I mean, I do joint own an apartment, but that's being rented out, so I can't go there. And I can go back to my parents, but as you know, probably from having done it yourself from time to time, you kind of fall back into this. I've got nothing against some great people, but you fall back into this weird routine of like you're the kid, they're in charge, and I mean, I don't want to be trying to bring bells back to there. It's just it's not acceptable. So unfortunately, London has to take a bit of a back seat, which is annoying because I really do love London in summer. Yes. But logistically speaking, it doesn't make sense to me to go there for 2-3 weeks and pay 200 a night for a hotel. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. What about that place where Sam's staying?
Oh, the Collective. I don't know the pricing there. Did you check that out as a potential?
No, I didn't check it out actually. I think it was, like anything. I think if you're there for an extended period, you can obviously get discounts. I think I can't remember now what it was. I still think it was quite pricey though, to be honest. I don't think it was dirt cheap.
I think it was a couple of grand a month or something, which, to be fair, for London, it's not actually that bad, really.
Yeah. But I mean, like, ultimately, for dating, I just don't think London is a particularly great spot anyway. I mean, yes, without a doubt, there are attractive people there, but, it's when you compare it to, like, Colombia or something, it's just not really any great shakes, is it?
I mean, I'm quite enjoying the fact that we've been in. So I've changed it up. I mean, usually every 2 weeks we bounce around. We've been now in Cali for 3 weeks. I think about that. So my model of actually traveling has slightly changed, or it's going to change this year in periods. There's going to be periods I'm jetting around a lot, place to place. But actually, my plan is actually that's a complete lie. In Poland we're in 6 different places in 6 weeks. So, but I mean, for example, Mr. M's finest. Yeah, I mean, for example, Cali spending a month here in a hotel, it's been great. I've been so productive because there's that. You obviously settle into a new place for a couple of days, but then you really just kick on and you're just very productive with it. You can be very targeted with the nights out you do, and obviously the day game sessions and stuff, and you go on a couple of dates a week, and that's fine. The rest of the time, you're just working. So it's actually been great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think staying in places for longer definitely has its benefits for
1 or 2 months would be ideal. I mean, I'm going to Turkey in mid-July. I plan to be there till kind of late August. I mean, we'll probably go to a couple of spots, but it's not going to be jumping around as much. Which would be cool.
Yeah. Okay. And then where do you go after Turkey?
I'd love to go to Georgia just to test it. So that I've kind of run out of time this year. I'd love to have spent a month there, but I think realistically, probably a weekend in Batumi Beach just to see what that's like. The Georgian party place, and then some time in Tbilisi. So maybe a week, 10 days total, and then off on my merry way. End of September, it'll be off to Mexico and Brazil for various parties, and then whole of November up till the end of December will be Thailand. So just chilling there, probably just do a lot of kickboxing and stuff, Muay Thai, and just get my head down. Lots of lady boys, Thai massages, the usual.
Every hole's a goal.
Every hole is a goal, and the meat spin is real.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I love Thailand. It's a great place to chill out, kind of reflect on the year, because you're sitting there and you can get a really good hotel, and you literally are sitting on the beach. Just nice coconut, burning hot sun. You've got the sea to jump into. You can be working off your laptop. It's a great place to be.
There's always that guessing game when you pull. Is it a woman? Is it a man?
Yeah, I mean it's a bit of it's an interesting place to date, and actually, I guess people don't realise, but Thailand is the most per nation visited place on earth for tourists. So you really do have a bit of everything, and obviously there's lots of Russians over there. Russian women extremely attractive. Not saying we align with them politically, but you can't pigeonhole people like that off the basis of people in charge of decisions. So. Yeah, lots of Russians over there. Obviously, some of the most beautiful women in the world, and lots of other nationalities there at that time of year. So it's going to be really good. Really looking forward to that. And then I've really got to map out next year what the hell I'm up to, because I've lived this kind of jetting around lifestyle for 5 years now, and I don't want to jet around as much as I've been doing. But the problem is, there's always new places to explore and visit. So it's a bit of
Venezuela, mate. Venezuela. What happened to Venezuela? It's got
100%. It's 100%. It's on the list for next year. We will be doing Venezuela.
Mate, a month in Santa Fe.
Rather than a month in Venezuela.
Both.
Okay. Well, you need to watch this Spanish course. To be fair, I did it with this dude the other day. It's very good. It can take you from zero Spanish to like literally having a conversation pretty decently in 2 weeks. That's all you've got to do. Watch it every day for 2 weeks, and you're in a good position. So if you are actually planning on kind of maybe spending more time in Colombia, I'd highly recommend it. And for anyone watching, I really recommend it. Check him out. It's called Speak Like a Local. You can Google it. If you go on the video that I made with him about 5 days ago, there's a discount code of 50% off the product, or a double discount code off the beginner and advanced. Highly recommend it. It's the best language course I've ever watched by a country mile. He uses as the base for the course this idea of being in a playful state, being present as the best way to learn. The scientific studies that back that up. Your brain takes in so much more information because cortisol's low, and he went through all the science, but it's legit. And it's really, really good. So
nice. No, I'm definitely up for that. So we'll talk about that offline actually, because I am definitely up for that. So
no, next year 100% Venezuelans on there. I'd love to do the Stans with you. I think it's time. They've all got ticked off.
Yes, absolutely.
It will be in Armenia, Kazakhstan, all those sort of places in May.
Yeah. Of course, it's going to be interesting to see as well. I mean, like next year, hopefully the political situation will have shifted a little bit as well. So, we'll see what's happening with all of that. Because certainly Ukraine, hopefully, will come back onto the map at some point.
Well, I mean, technically, we could probably go to Russia because we have actually got business there. We've got business visas, we have business interests.
Yeah.
We could technically go, but it's just, are we going to run into trouble?
Well, and you can't. Yeah, money's a problem. Like, literally
taking out money.
Yeah.
Where else? Where else on your list for the next few years or next year? Any places you particularly want to visit? Obviously, you had Albania. I know you've got an obsession with Dua Lipa, so hopefully finding some Dua Lipa lookalikes in Albania.
Well, I would quite like to go to places like Bulgaria as well. Actually.
Yes, Sofia would be great.
Yeah, Bulgaria, Armenia, like you said, Albania, Kosovo, those kinds of places. I think really Azerbaijan maybe.
I'd love to do all those. I mean, I'm shifting the kind of bootcamp model anyway. So next year there's going to be kind of 6 or 7 big spots that we're going to run boot camps in. The obvious things like Rio Carnival, Miami, Playa del Carmen. But then actually a lot of the only kind of work I'm going to do with guys is the occasional thing where they can kind of jump in, and a bit like they're doing in Poland, where they can jump in, pay us for a couple of days, but they can join us for the gym and lunch and dinner and do a day game or a night game session. It's going to be very much informal, jump into our lives kind of vibe. So some of these places we can publish a list somewhere, or guys can send us an email asking where we're going to be, and we'll only take 1 or 2 guys at a time, and they can kind of join us for a few days if they're cool guys. Something like that, or we'll just do it on our own because I'm not planning on running mainstream boot camps in somewhere like Mongolia for the Eagle Racing Festival.
Venezuela boot camp.
Well, we could throw the ultimate house party in Venezuela, and we could turn that into a Netflix series about how we managed to do it, and that'd be hilarious. And that would sell. Netflix would buy it, not Netflix. Vice would buy it, 100%.
They would. Facebook user, are you planning on doing a boot camp meetup in Amsterdam?
No, Amsterdam. To be fair, I really like the city, and I've spent time there. But it's not the best place for women because I think Dutch women, and I'm going to get criticised for this, but I don't think they're the easiest women to date. They're not the most attractive. They're quite masculine, and this is not just me giving this opinion. This is a number of Dutch guys that live in Amsterdam and they game there, and they're not the biggest fans. Now, Amsterdam's a great city because it's obviously liberal. There's lots of tourists, but no, it's never really been on my list. Maybe if the demand was there, and I think the demand probably is there. Maybe we could try and do something there.
Yeah, it's not in my experience. Although actually Torero was quite lighted, I think, but it's sort of it's an odd place really because you've got the what's left of the red light area, which is very touristy, which isn't necessarily a good thing.
No.
And then you've got the rest of it, which is very middle class and quite expensive, which is also not necessarily a good thing. So I don't know that it's the world's greatest sort of spot for it, really. But
what I would love to do with you, though, and we should really look to plan this in the foreseeable, so we can get it set in stone for next spring, would be some sort of interrailing thing where we jump off for a few days in various spots. And there's just some. I mean, I think you share it, but there's some weird obsession I've got with train journeys where
I think Poland. I think we should do everything by train. To be honest,
yeah, I think so
because it's just easier anyway. Not messing around with flights.
It's just quite nice as well. There's something just quite nice, less stress free about it, isn't there?
Yeah,
you get on the train and you just kind of look out the window, and it's just this. I've just got some weird of going on trains.
Yeah.
I mean, I developed
So yesterday I went to this really seedy bar in Berlin to check it out.
Oh, you're in Berlin? I didn't realize.
Yeah, I'm in Berlin. Yeah.
Oh fuck! So you fly from Berlin to Miami?
Yeah. So I went to this seedy bar in Berlin that used to be open 24 hours. I think they've changed the opening hours slightly now, but it was this place really famous for people just going and getting absolutely smashed and being in there all night and all weirdos in there and all that sort of stuff. So I went there in the afternoon just to sort of see what it was like these days. And I got talking to the barmaid there, who was actually Dutch, and she took a bit of a liking to Troy Francoise, and I think I could have, but she had no teeth, and she was sort of twitching because everyone there's on some she's probably on meth or something. But she was definitely feeling my vibe, and I probably could have got the number or whatever, but I made my excuses and left. I mean, she was a very pleasant girl, but she was. Sort of just talking about her travels and stuff like that. But yeah, no teeth at the front, which is a little bit of a deal breaker for me.
Not optimum. We need to really organise a weekend in Berlin, don't we, for this year? I'd love to get over there kind of late summer, maybe after Poland.
Yeah, well, my friend's here tonight, so we're gonna try and hit a few spots a bit later on. Go to some places. I mean, it's Monday night, it's not great, but
Well, I mean, is Berlin one of these cities where it is just fucking all guns blazing? All nights of the week, or is it?
Yeah, it's pretty based around the weekends, but obviously the weekends are completely off the hook. And now all the restrictions are lifted, as far as I know. So the clubs are all back and everything. It's all back to normal, really.
I mean, even in Colombia, which is quite behind the times, there's basically no restrictions here. So the fact that some countries still have mosques and all that nonsense going on just bewilders me.
Well, you have to wear masks, or you're supposed to wear masks on the subway and stuff. But even then, I don't think it's compulsory now here.
I think some flights you don't have to, though. I met a Swedish bird in London recently, flew over, and she said they didn't have to wear masks on the flight. So I think
saw a headline the other day saying masks are going to be made. They're not compulsory in Europe anymore. So good news, I guess.
So no flights, basically, in Europe.
No masks on flights.
That's great.
So hopefully,
we've always struggled with the mask culture as well because I don't know, we both run into technical difficulties with them. They start, flapping on our ears, or I end up breaking them or trying to drink through them.
Do you remember when we were in? Do you remember when we were in that shopping centre in filming that live approaching, and somebody was like, "Take off those submission muzzles."
I do, and then was that we were doing those with masks, were we, in Russia?
Well, we kind of had to because you've got security guards and everybody standing around.
God, that seems like so long ago, doesn't it? When we had Steve Jabber dressed as a spy on the bridge, pretending it wasn't him.
Oh, very odd.
Days.
Very odd.
So, how do we summarize this? If guys are entering the dating space and they want to,
keep it simple.
Minefield of information. Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS principle, which involves what? Basically, not watching any theory and getting out and just putting stuff into action. Is that what we're really saying? But then, how do you chicken and the egg? You're clueless. You're like we were, very nervous, anxious. You've watched some stuff online because you just will have done, and you are shit scared to approach. So, what protocol should you be taking then? Should you be going to a coach, or should you just be trying to wing it? I mean, what would you suggest?
No, I think going to a coach is definitely a good thing to do because you want to see some demos, probably. So that's the first thing. And you want to have somebody checking your body language and what you're doing, basically, how you're coming across. And you want that fed back to you as quickly as possible so that you can understand where you're strong and where you're less strong and repair what needs to be repaired. I think that is a bit of a no-brainer, really. I mean, it took me ages to figure out this stuff. And if I'd have had more coaching sooner, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of sat there for 6 months watching and reading theory and not taking action. And I did a bit of bootcamp with Daygame.com, which I absolutely needed because I wasn't going to do it myself. I was too scared. And I tried it a few times. I hadn't been able to approach on my own. So I was just like, fuck this. And then getting thrown in 100 times actually really helped me because there was no excuse.
Yes.
You've got skin in the game because you paid basically and invested your time and money, and there's no way out of it, even if you are really scared.
You trained with the man himself, didn't you?
Well, I trained with a few of the the guys, back in the day who kind of pioneered it in the UK. I mean, you had Tom Torero and John Matrix were the kind of the big names on. Yeah, they were the big names on campus back then.
Yeah.
And, I needed that. There was no way I was going to do it on my own. And guys are like, oh, where's the sales pitch to get you to pay us for coaching? It's like, no, we're just saying what we actually think. Like any skill set that I'm good at, the reason I'm good at that skill set is because I've gone to a coach.
Well,
like any coach, they give you a step-by-step implementable plan based on making the process, leveraging the hours that they've made mistakes and other people have made mistakes and give you a streamlined thing to save you most valuable asset time, but then also give you that much needed accountability. So when you combine step-by-step process with accountability, that's how you get good at a skill set fast. It's not about
I suppose being completely transparent, could you figure it out on your own? Yeah, probably. I mean,
Les did. Les never did any training formally. I mean, again, we will always give each other feedback and stuff, and you're always looking to get better. But he never did any formal training. He's decent. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So yes, you can.
But it took him 10 years to do that, whereas he could have arguably done it in 6 months or a year.
Yeah. He's actually 56. He just looks really young.
And he's also hung up his spurs.
Has he? Oh,
well, he's dating a girl, which is it brings its own set of problems, doesn't it? Dating a girl.
Is he in Mexico now?
No, he's actually in Cali with us. He's come out to do some filming, so he's chilling here. And his plan is actually he may well be in Miami. I don't know when you leave Miami, but he may well be there. He actually arrives the 24th, so I believe the Wednesday. You were right. You go on the 18th, and he arrives on the following Wednesday.
Yeah, I might be gone by then, actually.
Well, if you're not, he's around. He's going to actually run a boot camp that following weekend.
Okay. I'll catch up with him offline.
And where will you go after Miami? Straight back to Blighty?
Potentially, yes. I was thinking, like I was saying on that chat the other day, I was thinking about heading over to NYC for a few days just to do a bit of filming and stuff. But it's
really?
It's
going to do some filming? Nice.
Yeah, but it's up in the air at the moment.
Like infield stuff or just some dick in hand?
No, dick in hand.
Oh, okay, cool.
Keeping
Yeah,
it
it's a
strictly
cool city. I've
businessmen.
still never been. I've still been. I do want to go. I've heard good things.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. You should come over. R. Sid says, does age factor in as you get older when gaming younger chicks? I am turning 30 and I don't know if I come across as creepy. Well, 30 is still really young, mate, to be honest. And 30 is actually when you're coming into your prime, I would say.
Yeah, I would as well. But I do know what he means, like, because when you kind of don't understand this stuff and you start out, you know, you think of yourself as a 30-year-old guy and you're like, can I really hit on an 18-year-old? You don't realize how women see age. And only really getting into this stuff and actually, you know, going about that process of, say, necessarily look good for your age. But, you know, we went out in Bogota, didn't we? And you went home with a girl who's like 19, and she had at no point did she question at all how old you were. It just goes to show it really plays so little factor. It's such a low weighting for most women, isn't it? The age thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, it kind of depends on the culture, you know, whereabouts you're based, you know, whereabouts you are in the world and everything like that. There's some societies where it's less of an issue than others, but yeah, for sure. I mean, 30 is not a time to be worrying about this stuff at all, really. You know, I mean, you're still very young. You're still in you're not even in your prime yet. You're coming into your prime.
When would you say a guy does peak out of interest? You know, everyone's got their opinion, but what would your opinion be on that?
Mid-30s, mid to late 30s.
I'd say late 30s, personally. I still think
for me it was definitely late 30s actually, for a variety of reasons. Definitely late 30s.
No, really? No, that's what I mean. I don't mean the one on the left. I mean the blondie. Really? Lie naked on your boudoir?
Huh?
Mr. M's. We found many Mr. M's finest, which is basically any girl with a slightly large ass, and we're sending him into battle. We've got some prime real estate sitting here in the Intercontinental, as you can see, and you've got reception just there. So we see like a kind of walkway of all the talent coming in.
Yeah,
very nice.
Women in their 40s and 50s.
Women in their 40s and 50s. No,
yeah, that's
how old do you think she is?
Probably 30. Late 20s, like 28, 29.
Isn't that good for Mr. M though?
Mr. M's finest.
Looking for that sugar money.
See, they're even laughing about it. They're still laughing. Come on, Mr. M's finest. 30, the guy 787. 30 is only your prime when you're well established in life, like a nice house and nice car, etc. Saying 30 is your prime just for being 30 is dumb and giving men the wrong message. Get your life together. No, we're not saying that. Just to be clear, that's absolutely agree with you. As men, you can't just expect it. You've got to work on your value, and we're very lucky that pretty much across every area of value add we can accentuate. We have the option to do that. So absolutely agree with you. The guy 787. We're not just saying.
I mean, for a start, we didn't say 30 was your prime. I actually just said 30 is before your prime.
Yeah,
really.
I agree.
I mean,
late
you're
30s.
more likely to come into. But the other issue with what he's saying is that yes, on the one hand, I agree. You need to chase excellence, as Richard Cooper would say, and yes, you need to get your finances sorted. But there's a fundamental. The underpinning of that comment suggests that he thinks that men are only attractive if they have a nice house and a nice car, which is not true. Okay, I mean, they're two separate things. Your prime in terms of being attractive to women, you can be attractive to women and not have a nice car and not own a house. So not saying that you shouldn't aim to have those things, but they are separate.
Yeah, me and Mr. Reynolds were actually going to do a live stream where we're kind of mapping out on a blackboard or something. Basically a rehash of a video I did a few years ago, which is how to be kind of, the most attractive version of yourself, and actually talking about all these other areas. An upgraded version in 2022. So maybe we can get a few guys on to discuss that and really map it out. But yeah, we're definitely not just saying just exist and it's all good. You should be working on these value areas. You should work on your finances. Does that mean you need a big house and car? No. But you should be financially comfortable for the life you want to live, really. whatever that is. But there's all these other factors, aren't there, that you should work on?
Well, like I say, sexual attractiveness, success in the sexual marketplace, is it predicated on having a nice car and a house? No, 100% not.
No. We know many men who have a nice house and a car who can't pull a muscle.
Exactly. Should you, as a guy, aspire to have those things or to have equivalent things that, you know, give you some sort of security or some sort of like standard, you know, kind of gravitas in the world? Yes, absolutely. But it's separate to your attractiveness within the sexual marketplace, because you can be a complete douchebag sleeping on a mattress, and you can still be very attractive to women. Ask me how I know.
Because you've read Torero's Below the Belt, where he actually had this fetish for going the other way and basically being a complete miser, didn't he, and not spending a penny.
Yes.
Which, again, I don't really agree with. I think actually showing that you've got a bit of money, staying in nice hotels, buying a cool meal, I think that's all actually a value add. And again, we're not saying buy the girl a Rolex, but just showing that, demonstrating that you live a pretty cool lifestyle, you're not tight with money. Women will, even if they're dating you on a very short-term level, will look at that and assimilate, okay, well, because they imagine jumping into your reality, okay, what would that look like? Even if it's just a kind of subconscious thing. So I don't think, you know, being quote-unquote, I'm not going to say that. I don't think having cobwebs in your wallet, the other way, you know, Torero-esque way, is actually the right thing of doing it, in my mind anyway. He made this whole thing about, and this isn't kicking a man when he's dead, this is just disagreeing with certain principles. He had this thing about money being an indicator, a DLV, right? So an indication of low value. No, it's not true.
Which is not true either.
You can be that chump going around buying, you know, tables and clubs and getting absolutely fleeced for your money because you don't know what you're doing. Absolutely. And leading with your wallet, which is not the right thing, the way to do things. But you also should just be living you know, as you like. And for example, we were traveling around Russia last year. We were staying in nice 4-star hotels because we wanted to, right? And so if women were jumping in and having dates with us, it's like, oh, you happen to be in this quite cool place. But we're not doing that for them. We're doing that for ourselves because that's the lifestyle we want to live. If I'm traveling around, I want to be in a cool place. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right?
T Fox Kicks is saying Daygame takes longer now. The flake rate's higher. Society's way more looks-based. So if you can look good online, it may be more efficient than Daygame. So he needs to tune into our stream tomorrow with Wheat Waffles, where we'll be discussing, we'll be debating the very nub of these issues with rising star of the Black Pill community, Wheat Waffles. So we'll be getting into all of this stuff in detail tomorrow. And what time is it? 3 p.m. UK.
It is 3 p.m. UK. We have the perfect number of viewers watching this current stream, 69. Everyone's lucky number. Oh no, now it's 70. Everyone's unlucky number. Like the bingo hall, it's gone from sexual number to the bingo hall. 70, legs 11, 70. Oh, back to 69. Sorry, go ahead.
Are you excited to get the old boxing gloves back on and get back into the ring with
I'm really excited that my life has come to sitting in random hotel rooms on dodgy Wi-Fi, talking to someone with a waffle emoji for a face who has more subscribers on me than me, having done this for a very much shorter time period than I have. I'm extremely excited to leverage his subscriber count to my favor and not make a single sale, because the problem is his audience are all 17 with no money. So yeah, actually it makes no business sense, but I'm looking forward to fellow Brits so we should support.
Wheat Waffles, how did you build such a large audience online? Well, I made the earth-shattering point that women like good-looking men.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, that's
I do get it from a younger guy's perspective, because we live in a very superficial app-based where everyone is ripped and shredded and looking amazing online. So I get why it's kind of come to that conclusion. I do get, you know, if you look at the superficiality of things like Instagram and TikTok and I mean, you can kind of understand as a younger guy why you would think that. But what's going to happen is these guys will hopefully not give up. Hopefully they will, even if they do kind of buy into the black pill stuff, still work on their value and do all these other things. And when they hit 30, 35, they'll realize, actually, fuck, I've got loads of options. So hopefully, even if you're a younger guy and you do resonate with the black pill stuff, fine, you can believe that looks are the be all and end all, but don't let that then stop you working on the other areas for yourself. Forget for women, just for yourself. And then hopefully, as the decades pass, you'll realize, actually, good, I'm glad I listened to those old boomers, Tusk and Troy. And I did learn some foreign languages, and I did build a successful business, and I did learn to fight, and I did, you know, start traveling and all this stuff, and realize that actually, yeah, I do have options.
Yeah. He said, thanks for addressing the comment. I'm a long-term day gamer. Just noticed a shift living in a warm country with day game the last 2 years, which is kind of why I changed my beliefs slightly. Well, thanks for that, man. I mean, I don't remember any time when it was super easy, though. I don't remember any time when, you know, I mean, it's just a kind of basic fact of human nature, isn't it? That men and women both like attractive members of the opposite sex. I mean, there were chads back in the 80s. There were chads in the 70s. I mean, it's not... I mean, yes, I suppose you could say, has it been accentuated by Instagram and stuff like that? I guess a bit. But I don't remember there ever being a time when you could just rock up and be some out-of-shape doofus and, you know, it was no problem. And I think that's a little bit of a myth that gets propagated in this space, you know, like, oh, it used to be easier. Well, maybe by a minuscule amount, but not really. You know, and that's why learning social skills is so important, because, you know, if you had your stuff together then, as now, you can still, you know, create a competitive edge, let's say, in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys,
I don't know. What about you, James? Do you think back in the black and white days when, you know, before we used to have Instagram, or it was less of a thing, do you remember it being super easy when girls were just like, oh, you know, okay, I'll just go for some fat slob because, you know, I haven't got Instagram yet, so I don't know that men are meant to be shredded?
Well, basically, yeah, if you go to Serbia, it's still in play. I can't believe.
Geomaxing, which is what we're talking about tomorrow.
This is true. I've actually got to jump off. I've got another call now. I've got a Spanish lesson, but...
all right, good stuff. Well, me too.
If you want to join myself and Mr. Francois, we are doing a non-dick in the hand tour in Poland. Well, there'll be some existentializing and stuff going on during the non-coaching time, but every weekend we're hitting a new location in Poland. It's going to be an absolute blast. Get in touch. As you can see, Troy at Real Troy Fronts or info@jameshuss.com. We've got 6 locations. We've got a couple of spaces left for each. Jump in and smash it with us. It's going to be a really, really cool experience. And then join us at 3 p.m. UK time tomorrow for us to dust off our gloves with our wheat waffles and talk about why it's not all about looks.
Except it is.
And yeah, nothing else to add. We will rejoin forces then. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. It seems to be when we do these streams with each other less frequently, we actually get more viewers. So as much as we like chin wagging away about nothing, maybe this is the right format to do. Although you're going to be you're going to be blasted with live streams from us because we'll have nothing else to do in Poland. So expect loads and loads of live streams from us there, sitting there doing nothing, drinking cups of tea in random hotels.
Indeed.
Cool.
Good stuff.
All right. Until tomorrow, lads. We'll see you then. Get in touch if you want to speak to either myself or Troy, and we'll touch base then.
See you later.